We've talked about the first two waves of feminism, maternal feminism and modern feminism. We are rapidly coming into the third wave of feminism in terms of its application, and this is postmodern feminism. Actually, it's not rapidly. This wave of feminism began in the 1920s and has been slowly developing and moving, and now it is coming to its fruition. Postmodern feminism is from the late 20th century and the early 21st century. It's rooted in neo-paganism or postmodernism. And it's interested in overthrowing male-female distinctions. Or to put it differently, it's interested in overthrowing binary sexuality, the concept of sexuality being binary between male and female. Its goal is interchangeability. There is no distinction between male and female. Because men and women are equal, therefore they are identical. They are the same. In this form of feminism, there is no meta-narrative. They begin by saying there is no meta-narrative. And just that statement itself is a meta-narrative. There is nothing that is essential. Everything is a social construction. It's a construction of language. It is rooted in monism. All is one. And when you think of this religiously, this is Hinduism. All is one. Any distinctions are illusions, and we simply need to acknowledge that. The application is in the metaphysics of sexuality and the biology of sexuality, both. There is no masculine and feminine. There's no metaphysical or transcendent sexuality, and now there is no biology, male or female. They stand against a male value system, and they stand against what they see as the male value system creating a world of reason and a world of reality. So they begin by assuming reason and reality no longer exist. In fact, never existed. They are the social construct of white European males. And they are against sexual distinctions. And what they promote is androgyny, male and female as one, as undifferentiated. Suzanne Vincer said this: the third tenet of feminism is that there is no difference between male and female other than sexual organs. And I really don't think she has gone far enough, because in postmodern sexuality, even the male and female organs are an illusion. And she continues, all those physical, cognitive, and emotional differences you think exist are merely social construction. So physical differences, psychological differences, cognitive differences, they're all part of the imagination. This is androgyny, male and female in one. There's a sociological maxim, and that is that before you change a society, you must first change the language of the culture. And we are seeing this happen rapidly before our very eyes. We used to speak of the sacredness of life, now we speak of the quality of life. We used to speak of babies, and now we speak of the product of conception. We used to speak of sex, now we speak of gender. The word sex has an essential element to it, male and female. Gender has no essential element to it. It's whatever you construct. And whoever controls the language controls the culture. We've seen this in the definition of marriage, how it's changed. In the pre-modern world, marriage was a covenant between a man and a woman before God. It was a covenantal relationship, and it was a covenant that existed for your life until death do us part. In the modern world, marriage became a social contract, and eventually it became a personal commitment. You are married if you want to be, and you are married as long as you want to be, and at the point where you don't want to be married any longer, you are no longer married. In postmodernism, the goal is to eliminate the concept of marriage. So the word itself disappears from the vocabulary. We have a deconstructing of sex. Sex is a biological term. Gender is a sociological term. Sex implies distinctions, male and female. Gender is defined by societal usage. Two different concepts. Sex is not elastic. You are born male or you are born female. Today, gender is elastic. In fact, as we'll see, you don't even identify whether a child is male or female on their birth certificate. The word sex is grounded in essence. It's grounded in biology. It's grounded in reality. The word gender is a social construction. You put whatever you want to, whatever meaning you want to, in the word gender. In the United States, there became a legal turning point with Justice Anthony Kennedy writing in Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992. This is the legal recognition of what we would now call postmodernism by the Supreme Court of the United States. And he said the fundamental principle of our liberty was the right to define one's own concept of existence, of meaning, of the universe, and of the mystery of human life. There is no transcendent God who has defined these things. It is up to each individual to define these things for themselves. And this became a legal shifting point in American legal history. You have Michael Jackson. You have David Bowie. You have Madonna. Is Michael Jackson male or female? David Bowie, male or female? Madonna and Britney Spears doing a French kiss. These are political statements coming from a postmodern concept of reality. You don't know. Michael Jackson can be whatever he wants to be, and so can David Bowie, and so can Madonna. You make it up as you go along. There is no ultimate meaning to our sexuality or to our bodies. There are no role distinctions between men and women. You can pursue any role that you want. Equality in modern feminism means the elimination of the transcendent concept of masculine and feminine. But in postmodern feminism, it means the elimination of biology. We have a whole new alphabet. Historically, you had male and female. And then you went to lesbianism, gay, bisexual, transgender, LGBT became the new normal. But the alphabet is growing. Binary sexuality is passé. If you look at the upper left-hand corner, you have the sign for male and the sign for female. Here are the other signs that have grown out of this postmodern ideology. Facebook now identifies 58 gender options. And Facebook in the United Kingdom offers 71 gender options. It's no longer male and female. It's no longer LGBT. Currently, there's 71 options. What will there be in another few years? So we have transvestite as a male, but now there is a new word, Autogynephilia. And this is a man who wants to become the woman that he has had an erotic response to. A man has an erotic response to a woman, and he just doesn't want to become any woman. He wants to become the woman who created that erotic response in him. Here is the poster boy for autogynephilia. His name is Bruce Jenner. But you cannot call him Bruce Jenner anymore. You must call him Caitlyn Jenner. And if you do not call him Caitlyn Jenner, then you are not politically correct. And at some point, and in some places already, if you do not call him by his preferred name, you can be arrested because the force of law is coming behind postmodernism. So when he was a young man, Bruce Jenner was labeled the world's greatest athlete. He won everything he entered in the Olympics. No one had ever seen a man of this caliber before. And now, who is he? He says he's a woman. And he says his name is Caitlyn Jenner. And he is the seductive woman that he is in love with. What you are going to see in this video is where the average university student in the United States is today. This is postmodern culture.
There's been a lot of talk about identity lately, but how far does it go? And is it possible to be wrong? We went to the University of Washington to find out.
Are you aware of the debate happening in Washington State around the ability to access bathrooms, locker rooms, spas based on gender identity and gender expression?
I think people should be able to have access to the facility.
I think bathrooms could and potentially should be gender neutral because there doesn't need to be a classification for differences.
I think people definitely should have the ability to go into whichever locker room they want.
I feel like at least public universities should do their best to accommodate for those who do not have a specific gender identity.
You know, whether you identify as male or female and whether your sex at birth is matching to that, you should be able to utilize the resources.
So if I told you that I was a woman, what would your response be?
Good for you. Okay. Like, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
I'd be like, what? Really?
I don't have a problem with it.
I'd ask you how you came to that conclusion.
If I told you that I was Chinese, what would your response be?
I mean, I might be a little surprised, but I would say, good for you. Like, yeah, be who you are.
I would maybe think you had some Chinese ancestor.
I would ask you how you similarly came to that conclusion and why you came to that conclusion.
I would have a lot of questions, just because on the outside I would assume that you're a white man.
If I told you that I was 7 years old, what would your response be?
I wouldn't believe that immediately.
I probably wouldn't believe it, but I mean, it wouldn't really bother me that much to go out of my way and tell you, no, you're wrong. I'd just be like, oh, okay, he wants to say he's 7 years old.
If you feel 7 at heart, then then so be it. Yeah, good for you.
So if I wanted to enroll in a first grade class, do you think I should be allowed to?
Probably not, I guess. I mean, unless you haven't completed first grade up to this point and for some reason need to do that now.
If that's where you feel like mentally you should be, then I feel like there are communities that would accept you for that.
I would say so long as you're not hindering society and you're not causing harm to other people, I feel like that should be an okay thing.
If I told you I'm 6 feet 5 inches, what would you say?
That I would question.
Why?
Because you're not. No, I don't think you're 6'5".
If you truly believed you're 6'5", I don't think it's harmful. I think it's fine if you believe that. It doesn't matter to me if you think you're taller than you are.
So you'd be willing to tell me I'm wrong?
I wouldn't tell you you're wrong.
No, but I say that I don't think that you are.
I feel like that's not my place as like another human to say someone is wrong or to draw lines or boundaries.
No, I mean, I wouldn't just go like, oh, you're wrong, like that's wrong to believe in it, because I mean, again, it doesn't really bother me what you want to think about your height or anything.
So I can be a Chinese woman.
You sure.
But I can't be a 6'5" Chinese woman.
Yes.
If you thoroughly debated me or explained why you felt that you were 6'5", I feel like I would be very open to saying that you were 6'5", or Chinese, or a woman.
It shouldn't be hard to tell a 5'9" white guy that he's not a 6'5" Chinese woman. But clearly it is. Why? What does that say about our culture? And what does that say about our ability to answer the questions that actually are difficult?
My guess is this is not simply North American universities. If I had to guess, you're seeing this mindset moving globally. Postmodernism, reason and reality do not exist. Everything is a social construction. Whatever you think is what you are. And you will find increasingly that there are going to be laws in your country. There will be national standards that say you have to recognize gender identity, or you will not be able to speak, you will not be able to teach, you'll not be able to be a lawyer, because you are denying this ideology. But it's not just gender. There's trans race. This is a young woman who was born to white parents in Washington. She was a civil rights advocate who identified with the black community and identified so much with the black community that she called herself black. And then at some point her parents, who were both Anglo, stood up and said, no, she is not black, she is Anglo. But she became the head of the Spokane, Washington NAACP. And then there's trans age. This is a Dutchman who biologically is 65 years old. But he found being 65 hampered his dating and hampered his getting a job. So he petitioned the courts in Holland to have his age reduced on his birth certificate from 65 to 45. If there is no reality, you make it up as you go along. And there is trans species. This is Richard Hernandez, who is from the city where I come from Phoenix, Arizona. His picture on the right, he was a banker. I don't know if he's still a banker, but he was a banker. He had a little boy. And the picture on the left is Richard Hernandez today, and he is known as the Dragon Lady. And he has moved from male to female in terms of his sexuality. He's transgendered. But he, inside of himself, wasn't just female, he was a female dragon. And so he transitioned from human to dragon. And here you see Richard on the left as a female. And now he is being tattooed all over his body. And if you look at the picture on the right, you see that he has surgically had his ears removed. He has surgically had his nose altered. And in the picture we just saw, he surgically had his tongue slit, so it looked more like a serpent's tongue. This is postmodernism. And it's not just dealing with gender. It's dealing with how do you conceive of your life. Nothing is real any longer. The goal of the transgender movement is the destruction of the family and of the transcendent moral order. Ricky Wilchins, who is the founder of the Gender Public Advocacy Coalition, has said this: gay and transgender rights advocates have been quietly dodging the issue of binary heteronormativity. That means that binary is normal. But the sound you are hearing is the other shoe finally dropping hard, ending our cultural obsession with what's male and female will be our salvation. Transgenders are looking for the end of male and female because that is what will bring them salvation as transgendered people. He's not talking spiritually, but it's his salvation to be what he wants to be. What the transgender community wants isn't just a place at the table. They want to control the language, and they want to control the culture, and they want the concept of male and female to disappear. They want everyone else in society to affirm non-binary standards. So it's not enough to let them have a place. You have to affirm that the concept of binary is outmoded. This is a Masha Gessen, and she's very honest as a trans person to admit that we will use deception to get to where we want to go. It's a no-brainer that we should have the right to marry. But I also think equally that it is a no-brainer that the institution of marriage should not exist. That causes my brain some trouble. And part of why it causes me trouble is because fighting for gay marriage generally involves lying about what we're going to do with marriage when we get there. Because we lie that the institution of marriage is not going to change. That is a lie. It's important to see that there is an ideology driving these things, and the ideology that's driving it wants the death of Western culture, the death of Western civilization, the death of the concept of male and female, and the death of the concept of human family. And they will do whatever it takes to get there. So there's 3 waves of feminism. Maternal feminism, which was the feminism of Judeo-Christian theism. Modern feminism, which is based on the worldview of Darwinism and atheism. And postmodern feminism, whose goal is the elimination of human sexuality and human family. These are not the same thing. And we are not being honest to ourselves when we put feminism in a simple one category modern feminism. It's more complex than that.